Nodor and David Braley and Felicity Tang sponsoring me for coming here.
那么我想要首先要感谢若道，感谢大卫瑞雷，然后感谢蒋颖来跟我一起合作，能够把我的课程带到中国。
And in October, a great astrologer Stephen Forrest is going to be here.
那么10月份的话呢，就是Stephen Forrest 老师呢也会来到上海来举办一个就是亲密关系的工作坊。
It's good to meet as many astrologers as you can to get your own ideas, to see what people have to put. In the end, you put your own package together.
那么，对于想成为占星师的在座来说呢，去遇见更多的占星的老师，可以丰富你更多的这个想象力。那么到最后呢，但是到最后呢，你还是需要去把自己的这个语言表达出来。
And I have to thank Shanghai astrologer Chloe.
我要感谢一月，
for working so hard insisting that I come.
他非常坚持，一定要把我请到上海来，然后他也很辛苦的工作，让我能够成型。
And then making sure everything got done so that when I got here, everything's flowing nicely.
那么也保证每一件事情都能够有条不紊地进行。
And I have to thank you guys for being my China.
那么我也想感谢在座的每一位，你们每一位都是我中国的经历和体验。
Thank you.
感谢大家。
谢谢。
谢谢。
Okay, so I have to adjust my schedule of what I was doing. I got to pick up a little bit of speed, but this is a really important cycle. To understand it and to see it in the horoscope and to realize that is the houses and that is the horoscope and it works this way, it's really useful.
那么，我会调节一下我的进度呢，然后呢，接下来会讲得快一点。然而呢，这个在现在我们看到的土星经历在每一个宫位的这个行运呢，以及它的周期呢，都是非常非常重要的。我们首先需要去理解这个土星在这个宫位不同象限，然后它经历的时间是多少，它的意义是什么。对解读每一个星盘的时候呢，我们也需要了解这一点。
So always you're trying to. Sometimes you talk to someone, they're not facing reality. You have to talk about the crises that's coming.
那么有的时候呢，当你去跟个案去工作的时候呢，他们对生命中的很多事情呢是采取逃避的或者阻抗的态度。然而你需要去跟他们解释，接下来你的生命中会发生一些危机。
Sometimes someone knows the crisis is going on. They have to understand the phase. It's coming from here. It's going to there.
那么有的时候呢，就是个案他理解他自己当下也处于一些危机中。那么这个时候呢，你就需要向他去解释说，那么这个危机是什么时候开始的？你现在在什么阶段？什么时候才会结束？那么你应该如何去把握？
The change is really the phase is like breathing in, crises, breathing out.
那么就好像呼吸一样的，当我们经历危机的时候，那么我们就像呼进呼气，然后当我们就hold住呼吸的时候，这是顶峰的时候，危机顶峰的时候，然后我们再会把这个气再呼出来。
If we're in touch with our chart, we're living our chart. These things happen. We just go through day by day. Even though these things happen, they're significant. They don't make it so that we're just in touch with it. It becomes much easier.
那么，当我们和我们的星盘的能量能够相应的时候，当我们能够真实的去活我们的生命的时候，这些事情也会发生，但它们不会变得这么激烈，以至于控制我们的人生。我们还是可以跟我们的人生去和谐的共舞的。
So after you get to the peak of status or position.
那么，当你获得了生命中最高的这个地位和这个收获的时候。
It's negative, it's your lack of status.
如果你的能量没有是正向的去运作的话，如果是一些负向的能量在运作的话，那么这个时候并不是你取得成就的时候，而是你人生缺乏成就的时刻。
So you can get to the middle and just, I never did it, I didn't do it.
那么就好像说，那个时候行运的土星来到你天顶，你会对自己说：天哪，我竟然没有完成我想要做的事情，我竟然没有开始去做。
But you still have a sense of where you are in the world very clearly. This is where I got to.
那么，但是你还是会有这样非常清晰的这些理念，就是清晰的思维想法，说我在这个世界上我应该在什么位置，或者我可以在什么位置。
Whether you build a little hill or a big mountain, depends on how much effort you made.
那么你是要在这个生命中去搭建一个小山丘呢，还是去攀登一座高峰呢？是基于你对自己的人生有多好的规划，以及付出了多少的努力。
So Saturn starts moving. Venus and Heaven starts moving through this 10th, 11th, 12th house.
那么当土星行运的土星达到天顶的时候，然后呢，接下来他们就要往下行到这个就是行运到11宫、10宫、11宫、12宫。
So you got to where you are. Now you want to use your influence.
那么当你达到你的该在的地位的时候呢，你就要使用，接下来你就要去使用你的影响力了。
You want to prove your status, prove you're important, include more people, let more people know, extend your friendships.
那么你想要获得更高的成就，取得更多的这个实际的地位，然后你想要去影响更多的人，然后去结交更多的朋友。
So this can be the business. You built it up. You built friends. You built up groups. It could be a marriage. You got married, and you both have friends, and you built up the friends you know and who you know. It's extending your influence socially.
那么这就是在你在社会上去扩大你的影响力，增加你的影响力的时期，就好像不管你是在一个公司中你达到了一定的成就，你建立了一个群体，然后呢你拥有了更多的这个团队为你工作，你拥有了更多的朋友，增长更多的见识，或者是说你结婚了，然后通过这个婚姻呢，你们互相聚遇到了更多对方的朋友，扩大了你在这个社会上的见识和影响力。
As soon as you're trying to impress people, you're giving your energy away. It's going to cost money. It's going to take energy for doing that.
那么，当你一旦想要让别人去更能够了解你的能量的话呢，这个时候你就要去花一些能量去投射出去，就好像说你要花一些钱，然后去花一些精力。
It's So at some point, you start realizing I'm burning out. I can't keep doing this.
那么当你这么做的时候，可能会到达某一个点的时候，你会意识到，哎呀，我已经燃烧尽了，好像我没有再也没有更多的精力了。
I'm putting all this time out to everybody. I've got everything going, but what am I getting from it? Like, you start growing out of it.
那么就好像说我做了那么多的事情，我花了那么多的精力去取得外界的这些东西，那么就好像说到了一个点，你好像觉得我已经做够了这些事情。
So as Saturn starts going in the 12th house, you start realizing I can't. It's coming down. I'm not quite there anymore.
那么当行进的土星来到12宫的时候呢，这个时候你会意识到说，我好像离开那个高峰有一些距离了，好像我已经不在那儿了，我好像已经离开了那个地方一样。
So you can work for a company for a lot of years, get up to your midheaven, you got a peak position, then you got a bit more influence, but then by the time Saturn comes down into the 12th house, you're not going to get more promotions or raises.
那么就好像说，举个例子，就像你为这个企业打工打了很多年，然后呢，你终于取得了最高的这个地位，取得了一定的成就和职位。那么当土星在这个过渡到天顶的这一刻呢，你好像取得了最高的成就。然后呢，土星呢就回到就走到12宫，这个时候你即使在辛苦的工作，你也不会拿到更多的这个奖励，或者会获得更多的这个提升了。
You've been thinking the same way, doing the same things for almost 12 years.
那么就好像说这12年，这接近的12年，你好像都在做同样的事情，都在思考同样的东西，都在重复同一些事情。
So you start feeling I don't want the same friends. I don't want to see those people anymore.
你就好像潜意识中有一种感觉，我不想再看见同样的朋友了，我不想再做同样的事情了。
What am I doing? I'm holding on to the job. They're not paying me for what I'm worth. I'm doing everything and nobody's recognizing me. And somebody else is even getting a job that I should get.
那么我到底在做什么呢？我做的那么努力，我好像比别人都用功，为什么大家没有赏识我？为什么老板没有赏识我？为什么公司不给我升职呢？为什么就是那个看上去还不如我的人，却获得了我的职位呢？这个时候通常你会这么去想。
So sometimes it works well through all this period. But when you get down here, you start thinking, when am I going to retire? What am I going to do? Maybe I'd rather do something else. You're not sure, but you start imagining it. What else could I do? Well, I could go be a doctor. I could go be an astrologer. It's going to take too long. But you talk yourself out of it.
那么有的时候就是说，在这个土星行进到10宫、11宫、12宫下来的时候，可能你运作的也不错，但是你内心也会有一个声音是说，我还可以做什么？我好像觉得应该有一些更 更精彩的东西我可以做，但是你不知道。那么通常人们的思维呢，就会觉得说，哎呀，我如果还要做新的事情的话，我可能还要花更多的时间去学习，然后更多的时间去掌握这些技能。于是你常常会去劝说自己不要再去努力了。
So as Saturn comes down to the ascendant, to the identity crisis through that 12th house, you begin to feel, I don't fit in here. For 15 years, Saturn's been about the horizon. You're thinking the same way for 15 years. All of a sudden, I'm not fitting in here. This isn't enough. What? Something's missing.
那么，当土星行星过12宫来到上升点的时候呢，那个时候就是你生命中非常重要的，就是身份危机的时刻。那么这个时刻呢，你就会想说，在过去的15年中，我一直在外求索，向外求索，然后我是同样的思维，又做同样的事情。那么到这一刻的时候，你可能内在会觉得有一些匮乏感，会觉得好像这些都不足够了，我需要去再做一些什么。
But for 15 years, you've been thinking, you got to do this, you got to set this up. The outside is more real. This is more real. I have to be involved here. So your mind is in a pattern of thinking for 15 years. I've always set it up like this. I'm used to going like this. So now you're coming to a point where I can't keep going like that. I need something new. But your mind doesn't know how to think like that.
那么，在这个土星来到上升点的这个过去的15年呢，你的思维都是同样的想法，你就会去想说，哎呀，我应该去在社会上去追求更远，走得更多，我应该这么做事情，我应该那样做事情，我应该结交这些朋友，或者我应该怎么样做。但是你的思维却是在15年中是以同样的方式去运作，而当这个土星来到上升点的时刻，你突然间觉得说好像这些都不够了，我想要改变一下。那么，但是呢，你虽然是内心想要改变的，但是你的思维还是同样跟过去是一样的思維方式。
So by the time Saturn hits your ascendant, I call it the pit of despondency. It's a depression. I don't know despondency.
Despondency 就是相互独立的，人格的一个个人。
那么这个时刻呢，我把它叫做人格的独立的时刻，好像是说有一点点的抑郁的感觉。
Hi, how you doing? Okay. I'm really well, just bored.
就好像是很无聊，很无聊，就是能量很低的感觉。就别人跟你说，哎，你好，你会说，哎，好，就好像是没有办法跟人有这样连接。
You used to put your energy out to your. If you got married up here, you were marrying for status, position.
你会感觉自己好像内在是有一种匮乏感和不满足感。
I'm not good enough. I'm not happy. Something's missing.
我好像不够好，我不是这么的开心，我不是这么满足，好像是缺失了一些什么东西。
It builds up this big wall. You don't know what you're doing. You're just stuck there.
那么这就会为你好像在这个跟四周跟这个世界就是搭起了一座这围墙，你好像不知道应该怎么做。
So after a month or 2 or 3 months, depending how long it sits on there, you get tired of just being bored and depressed.
那么所以呢，在这个一个月或2个月或3个月，这取决于土星待在上升点的时间啊。那么在这个时间以后呢，你会觉得，哎呀，我已经厌倦了这种状态，我再也不想要，就是一直是处于这样的一个状态了。
What's happened is you've lost your motivation. Like if you have a kid for 20 years, you bring up the kid, it's easy to be motivated.
那么就好像说，这个时刻你失去了一些驱动力。举个例子来说，如果你就是照料小孩，照料了20年，那么照料小孩就是你的驱动力。那么这个时候你就失去了这种驱动力。
The kid goes, leaves home, doesn't call you. It's hard to be motivated. What am I going to do now?
那么这个小孩他长大了，他离开了你。那么他离开了你身边以后呢，你好像就缺失了一份什么东西，你不知道自己应该做什么了。生命中
Husbands and friends are saying, don't be so depressed. Come on, let's do this, let's do that. And you don't feel like it.
那么你的这个亲人或者你的老公都会说，哎呀，你可以做这个，你可以做那个，别那么抑郁了。但是你会觉得，哎呀，那些事情好像都没有意思。
You end up, I have to do something just because I can't sit here.
那么终于有一天你会意识到说，我再也不能这样了，因为我无法再忍受自己这样子，整天这样子无聊了。
When you feel insecure in yourself, you don't have the extra confidence to be, hey, how are you doing? To think someone else is okay. You're feeling you're missing something.
那么当你内在缺乏这种安全感的时候，你会觉得就是你不会去向外去建立这个联系，你也会觉得说自己好像是这么不满足和不开心。
So you need to start something new. To starting something new, you're not motivated to do it.
但是这个时候对你来说很关键的，你是要展开新的篇章。但是对你来说，展开新的篇章，你是缺乏这种驱动力的。
This is a real test of character. Because
那么这是一个非常真实的去测试你个性和挑战你性格的时刻了。
You're not going to fix this by motivating it. You're going to fix it. Have to start something. Have to strive. Have to make an effort.
那么你并不是会因为有驱动力而去解决自己的这些问题，而你是需要通过努力，是通过自己的毅力去改变这个状况。
Just to change things. If I don't make the effort, no one will.
就好像改变生命的状况，如果我不去改变的话，生命中没有任何别人会帮我去改变。
So if no one cares, why should I bother?
如果没有人在意我，或者没有人在意我的话，我为什么要花这些那些功夫去做这些事情呢？
I just can't watch one more soap opera.
可能是那个2年或者4年，因为如果你的12宫很大的话，可能是4年。那么在这一段时间中呢，你可能会想，我可以做这个，我可以做那个，但是你又会去潜意识中告诉自己说，我这个不行，那个也不行。
So you already have the ideas of what you want to do.
其实你潜在那个时候，你内在都已经有了这种感觉，或者有了这种想法，我应该去做什么，我可以做什么。
Now, if you put a first choice on the line and you go, I'm going to start working on something I really want.
但是如果这个时候你把你的这个人生中的第一选择，也就是说你最想做的事情放在列表的首要的位置的话，
And you can be consistent at it.
然后你去努力去做这件事情，并且持续的去做这件事情，
You can change your destiny for the next 30 years.
那么你就可以改变你接下来30年的生命了，你就可以改变你的命运。
So by the time Saturn is coming to your center, you're ending everything needs to be ended.
那么当行星的土星来到你上升点的时候，你已经结束了你生命中应该结束的所有的这些老旧的内容了。
So, but then you have to start planting what's new.
那么这个时期呢，对你来说很重要的就是你要去播种生命的种子了。
But you didn't buy any seeds. You didn't think you'd have to do it. So I don't know how to do this.
那么，但是如果你没有去购买这些种子的话，如果你没有播种的话，你就会非常困惑。我不知道生命的花园会开出什么东西来。
First, you think maybe I'll just go out in the country and get away from the city and hide away from everything. Mistake.
如果你是这么想的，我也许可以躲到乡下去，也许我可以离开喧嚣的城市，我可以一个人躲着吧。那么这是一个非常大的错误。
If anything, you go deeper into the city.
如果是任何选择的话，我建议你还是来到最热闹的市中心吧。
You need teachers.
你需要老师，
You need new ideas.
你需要新鲜的想法，
You need to put a new package together.
你需要让自己的人生中，就是学习更多新的装备。
So an image I usually say is you planted tobacco for 25 years.
那么我说的一个例子或者是一个画面，可能是说你种那个种子种了20年，
You made big money, made lots of money, but now the soil's ruined.
那么就好像说你种这个烟草种了20年，那么他赚了大钱，但是呢，这个种烟草也会让这个土地受到污染。
The government is making rules. They don't want tobacco.
那么政府呢，也就是制定了一些规章制度，他们或者法律，他们不允许再种植烟草了。
You can't make much more money from it.
你再也不能从那个事情上再赚钱了，
You don't even feel like doing it.
你也不想再去干那件事情了，根本就不感兴趣了已经。
But if you plant soybeans or corn, you're not going to make half the money.
但是如果你去播种这个玉米或者是那些土豆的话，可能根本赚不了1半的钱。
So you think, why bother? I don't even want to go in the field. I'm just going to let that field just let it sit there, and I'll just put a few flowers around the house. Forget it.
那么你就会感觉说，那我为什么还要这么去花那么多精力呢？我就不去种了吧，我就让那个田地荒废吧。
So you plant a few flowers around your house.
那么你说，还不如就在我这个房间周围，就是种一些花呢。
And before long, the field of weeds comes and kills your flowers.
那么就不久以后，就是那块田地里面的野草也会蔓延，然后把你的这个家园四周的这些花也都会侵蚀。
You're still depressed.
你还是非常的抑郁。
The field is your potential, so everything you could possibly be.
那么这块土地呢，是你的潜能，是你的潜力，是你可以成为的任何的可能。
It's not supposed to be weeds.
它应该不光光是不只是野草吧。
But if you don't work on your garden, you got no right in anybody else's garden.
但是如果你不去耕耘自己的田园的话，你对别人的田园你没有任何的控制权。
So you mean I have to do this myself?
所以你会对自己说，难道我需要自己去做这些东西吗？做这个苦力吗？
I got to go out and get some new seeds. I got to plant the flowers and the corn and the soybeans and see what happens.
那 难道我必须要去播种不同的东西吗？比如说我要去尝试种植玉米，种植这个土豆，然后种植鲜花，看看接下来会有一些什么东西生长出来吗？
So when I'm talking to people when they're there, I'm telling them, over the next 7 years, while Saturn goes in this through the first, second, and third house, it's an area of personal growth. You need to grow.
那么，当我去跟个案工作的时候，当行进的土星来到1宫、2宫、3宫的时候，这是你人生中最重要的去进行个人成长的时刻。你内在需要成长了，
You need to grow inside.
你需要内在去生长。
I usually tell people, I always tell people, the next 7 years you're supposed to be in school.
那么我通常会对个案说，接下来的7年你应该去回到学校，回到校园。
A lot of people think they're too smart. I'm not going back to school.
有一些人会说，天哪，我才不会再回学校去呢。
At this time, at this age, someone could have just got out of school. If you finish your school up here, then you get down here 4 years later, 5 years later, I'm saying you're supposed to go back to school. You say, no way, I'm not going back to school.
有很多人说，如果是他的土星在天顶的时候毕业的话呢，如果说经过4、5年土星来到上升点，我跟他们建议说，你们这时候会需要再去重回校园。他们说，天哪，我刚从那儿出来，我才不回去呢。
So you don't go to school, you get more and more depressed.
如果你不去学校，不去学习新的技能的话，你会越来越抑郁。
Sooner or later, you think, well, maybe I could go back.
那么总有一天你会说，也许我会再回去读书吧。
But so the more you wait, sometimes people will wait and they only start down here. Some people, you learn from the school of hard knocks. You're not doing it, you're depressed, and it's not working, and you're asking how come? You're still learning.
那么有的人可能会到，就是说土星到3宫或者2宫，他们不一定是在同样的时间开始进入学校，但是有些人他如果不去学校的话，生命这所大学也会给他们很多功课的。
A lot of people, I can't see going. I'm not going back to school. I'll get married instead. I love you. You're wonderful. Take care of me. I'll be with you. I'll be in your world. But I'm not going to go for myself. I'll hide in our relationship.
那么很多人在这个时刻呢，他们会说，哎呀，我才不回学校呢，我就结婚吧，我遇到了这个对我这么好的人，然后我就在一起，我也不需要去烦恼其他的事情了。于是他们就躲进了他们的关系和婚姻中。
Within a short time, I'm dissatisfied. I'm just can't content. It must be a relationship. We're so different. What's happening? And the relationship breaks.
那么不久的话呢，他们也会开始感到抑郁和不满，因为这个还是会追随着他们。然后他们也会认为可能是婚姻出了问题，或者是怎么样的。那么不久以后，也许婚姻也会解体的。
It didn't start from love. It started from a trade-off and an escape.
那么这个婚姻的开始呢，它并不是因为真正的爱而开始的，因为这个婚姻的开始是一场交易，它好像就是去躲避自己、逃避自己的一场交易而已。
So if you start the relationship, first 2 years, you realize we're so different. I'm me. Saturn the first. We're so different. What are we doing together?
那么，当你这个土星在上升点开始这个婚姻关系的话，当土星在1宫的时候，你就会这1、2年，你就会发现说我们2个人这么不同，哎，这就是我，那个你跟我想象的也不一样，我们是多么不同的个体啊！
I have to put up with this. I have to put up that. We're so different.
我需要忍受你这一点不同，我需要忍受那一点，我们仍然是完全不同的个体。
The more you're complaining, the less you're sharing.
那么，当你抱怨越多的话呢，你倾听，你听到对方就越少，你了解的对方就越少。
This phase is the 7 most selfish years in your life.
那么这段时间实际上应该是你人生中最自私的7年。
You have to work on yourself.
你必须为自己而工作，为自己而活。
So if you made the relationship, you have that. This I don't identify. I'm just in my own world. With the Saturn in the first house, it goes into the second. We don't have the same money. We don't have the same values. We don't like the same things. What are we doing here?
如果你是那样的关系进入这个婚姻的话呢，当行进的土星来到第2宫的话，你会说，哎呀，我们都没有同样的这个收入，我们的资源也不同，然后我们的这个爱好也不同，我们喜欢的东西也不同，我在这儿做什么呢？我们2个为什么会进入这个关系呢？
At a time it goes down to the 3rd house. We don't identify. We don't have the same values. We can't even talk to each other. There's nothing to say.
那么当这个土星行星的土星来到3宫的时候，我们俩根本就没有办法这个链接，然后我们的价值观也不同，我们喜欢的东西也不同，然后这个时候到了3宫的话呢，我们2个基本上连交流都无法进行了，都会非常的艰难。
You could have kids. You could have things going on, but you're not communicating.
你可以有小孩，你可以2个人都忙于很多事情，但是你们2个人很难做到真正的沟通。
Relationship won't last.
那么如果是这样的话呢，亲密关系也不会持久的。
Or if it does, it's sick.
即使他就是维系下去的话，那么这个关系也是不健康的。
So this personal growth, if you're in school, you said you're not going to, first you start, I just take 1 or 2 courses. If you knew what you were doing, you'd mess it up.
那么这个7年的最自私的时间呢，也许如果你回到校园的话，你可以去尝试一些课程。如果你一开始就知道自己想做什么的话，也许你会做得很糟糕。
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I take for a course. So a lot of times I tell people, take something different. Take something that's shocking. That, like if someone's been a business person and they're very practical, and a woman's had a lot of business power, very controlled, I tell them, oh, go take a belly dancing course.
那么有的时候就是说，这个时候就是你需要去尝试、去敞开自己、去学习更多的东西的时候。那么这个时候，通常我会建议大多数的客户去尝试跟他们之前完全不一样的东西和生活。比如说，如果是一个商业上非常成功的女性，非常拘谨的、非常严谨的女性，我会建议她说，你还不如去尝试一个就肚皮舞课程吧，
Or go take a singing course.
或者去参加一个唱歌的课程，
Or Tai Chi.
或者太极。
You have to change your world. And I can't believe I'm doing this.
你必须要改变你的生命。哎呀，我不能想象我竟然在做这个事情啊！
Especially for women, you have to be so bound up, keep everything closed up, not do everything. You're walking around, it's all to be able to suddenly play with it. It's only girls, so it's only other women in the class, but it's fun.
那么特别是对那些女性，她们通常来说非常拘谨，或者只是活在这个好像很拘束的世界中的时候，我希望她们可以敞开去尝试一些不同的东西。特别是在那个肚皮舞课程上，身边都是女性，你可以开放自己的女性能量。
It challenges the identity, but it reinforces it too.
那么它挑战了你对自我的这个看法和自我的这个身份的这个形象，但是它也会增强你自我身份的某一些面向。
Well, if I can do this, maybe I can do something else.
那么你会想说，如果我能够做到这一点，能够做这些，我可以做其他的事情也没有问题。
It changes the pattern. It changes the attitude. I want to be busy at something.
那么它会改变你的态度，改变你过去生活的轨迹和模式。你会认为说，我也可以做这个，我也可以做一些改变。
You're still not motivated. You've passed a little bit of time, but you've added something.
那么在这个过程中呢，你虽然也是没有很强的驱动力，你虽然也过了就是说消磨了一些时间，但是你为自己的生命增加了一些新的能量进来。
Every week that goes by that you don't add something new, you're going to feel really depressed and you're falling back into the past like this huge depression.
如果你每一周都没有增加新的东西、新的内容到你生命中来的时候，你就好像说你又回到了过去那个旧有的旧我的模式，你会感到非常非常的沮丧和非常的抑郁。
Doctors will put you on antidepressants.
那么这个时候，也许你会去看医生，医生就会给你开药方。
It's a mistake.
这是一个错误。如果这个时候你做这件事情的话，是一个错误。
Own your own depression.
去把握、去拥有你自己的抑郁吧。
When you start dealing with it, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to fix this. It takes time, but when you grow out of it, it's yours.
当你去面对它，当你去处理它，当你去和这个抑郁去工作的话，那么虽然它也会花一些时间，但是这就是会让你自己获得成长。
So for a couple of years, you're going to be struggling with this. But then once you're doing this for a year or two, if you, at least I'm going. At least I'm not going to stay here. I'm taking this class. At least I'm into this. I'm going to take this a bit more. Then the rest of it becomes easier. Then you get used to striving, and you want to put the whole package together.
那么，当你坚持这样做的时候，你会了解说，我至少没有活在过去，我至少没有就是躲在这个过去的河中，我至少还在做一些事情。虽然我还不清楚我将来要做些什么，但是就好像我已经建立了这样的一个健康的惯性，去推动我去向前了。
You can't solve this for someone.
你不能为别人去解决他生命中的这一些问题。
But when you're going through it, if you understand the process, you can see why you're depressed. I can start doing something, and you can understand the process that it's changing.
那么，当你自己在经历生命的这些周期的时候，你就会去理解说，我为什么会经历这些情绪，我为什么会处于现在的这个状况。然后呢，你可以去一点一点的去跟着这个周期去做一些事情。
That's really useful.
这是非常非常管用的方法。
Many people start their spiritual life and start astrology right here.
很多的人都是在这个时刻，就是土星和上升点的时刻，开始了他们灵性生活，或者开始成为了一个占星师。
There's got to be something better. Oh God, help me.
那么这个世界上一定有更好的东西，我想要去追求的更好的东西，上帝帮帮我吧。
And then if you start understanding the truth, wow, it really works like this, you get interested.
如果当你真的能看到生命的能量原来是这样运作的话，你就会对这些感兴趣。
Then you've got a way of studying ahead of you. If you're interested in astrology, you start growing at it. It's not long before you're really into it.
那么当你去学习占星的话，那么我相信不久你也会非常非常的这个感兴趣，也会学习很多的东西。
It could be music. It could be just going back to school to get any kind of degree.
那么这可以是音乐或者任何你感兴趣的东西，或者是你在重归校园去获得任何的这个学分和学任何的专业。
You got 7 years, some people 10 years. They quadrant to try and make your life meaningful to you.
那么这7年呢，或者有些人是10年，因为它这3个象限，这个象限比较大的话，可能会花10年。这10年的时间中呢，你需要去寻找，或者是告诉自己说，我生命的意义是什么？我如何才能让我的生命活出更多的意义来？
You worry about money, you worry about this, but you start minimum 2 classes a week at night.
那么你可能会担心一些经济，会担心一些资源，但是我建议还是要至少每周学习两个晚上的课程。
One left brain, one right brain.
一个左脑的课程，一个关于右脑的课程。
One physical, something you're doing, and something else that's mental.
一个是关于身体的，就是身体上的；另外呢是关于心智上的课程，就是左右脑要平衡。
At first, it doesn't mean what you're going to do. It's just what might work. It opens you up. Then you'll decide a little later, I'm going to go for this whole thing. If you start astrology, you may say, well, maybe I'll go get a whole psychology degree. I'll put the whole package together.
那么当刚开始的时候，可能你并不知道自己为什么去学这些东西，但是当你慢慢去学的时候，很多新的东西就会给你打开新的视野或者新的这个机会，机遇之门。也许你学那个占星，你会说，哎，我不如还去学一些心理学的学位吧。
If you're married to someone that's going through this, it's difficult.
如果你和那个正在经历这些时刻的人结婚的话，在这一时期结婚的话，那么这个婚姻会比较困难。
You get tired of your partner being depressed when you're there.
因为当你在那个婚姻的时候，你会感觉到非常抑郁，因为好像你的那个爱人一直不在那儿，他好像不知道在干什么。
So sooner or later you back off and you say, just go take care of your problems. If you're in love with the person, say, just go fix your problems. I don't care what you do, go do something. Don't hang around me being depressed.
那么总有一天，如果你遇上的是这样的一个爱人的话，你会对他说：“哎呀，你还是就是自己过好自己吧，你不要担心我，就是你自己去把自己修理好，或者过好自己想要的生活，不要就是整天在我身边，你还是很抑郁的状态。”
So the husband or the wife gets busy in their own world and ignores the partner.
所以就是说，那么经历这个行运的这个个案呢，或者这个人呢，他可能会忙于自己的生命，而可能会忽略对方，忽略另一半。
It half increases the depression, but it's exactly what they need.
那么这可能会在某种程度上增加他们的抑郁状态，但是这正是他们需要的。
Go fix it yourself. Don't dump it on me.
先把你自己去就是修理好，不要把你的这些情绪全都扔在我身上吧。
Oh well, I better go take another class. But it's a growing thing. If you choose something you're interested or you love and you happen to doing, it's the strongest point in your life because it's the beginning of it.
那么这当然这也是一个你自己学习自我成长非常好的一个时期，因为当在这个时期你去选择自己真正喜欢的，但是你之前从来没有做过的事情的话，那么这个时刻也是非常强大的时刻，因为它是一个完全崭新的开始，周期的开始。
So when you plant a seed, you put it in the ground.
那么当你种一个种子的时候呢，你把这个种子播种在土地下面。
Cover it up, put water on it.
然后呢，你把这个土埋在上面，然后就是灌一些水。
You don't see if it's growing.
那么刚开始的时候，你看不到它是否在成长。
You don't know if it's living.
你也不知道它是生的还是死的。
You don't know how many seeds are going to take.
你也不知道这有多少的种子会发芽。
You keep watering it.
但是你还是会不停地浇灌。
At some point, underneath the ground, the seed will open up.
那么在某一个时刻呢，就是在某一个神奇的时刻呢，就是土地下的那个种子呢会破土而出，会发芽。
So that's the bean sprouts. You're just ready for the bean sprouts. But then it'll start to grow.
那么接下来呢，它就会生长。
You still can't see that.
你还是看不见那个生长的东西。
It's not until it pushes above the earth that you see, oh, here's the plant.
那么，直到这些种子它破土而出的时候，你才会看到那个植物它原来已经生长这么多了。
This process is a 15-year process.
那么这个过程呢，就是一个15年的这个过程。
To planting seeds, watering seeds, they germinate, another 7 years to build up before it makes a little difference. And Saturn gets to your descendant and you begin to get recognized.
那么也就是说，这个过程就是土星在上升点，然后到达下降点的这样的一个过程，就是15年播种种子，然后种子在地底下孕育，然后发芽，破土而出。那么当行星的土星来到下降点的时候，就是那个破土而出，你开始获得这个收获这些关注或者收获这些认可的时机了。
So really, everyone you see, they're either somewhere in the last 14 years that they either caved in and they started over.
那么你所见的人呢，要么就是他们在过去的15年中呢，就好像要回到他们自己的山洞去学习一些东西了。
Or in somewhere in the, so they may have caved in and they're just starting, or they may somewhere that's where it happened and they're just going on. So it's either behind you or in front of you.
那么就好像说这一段阶段，要么就是在你已经经历过了，或者是说还在你面前，你需要去经历这个阶段。
Where you are in that relationship, it's the essence of the time perspective of where you are in life and interpreting transits.
那么就是这一个阶段，这个土星的阶段，那么你生命中现在是在哪一个阶段的话，对你来说是解读行命非常重要、非常精华的这个要点。
You're seeing the essential struggle and the essential time perspective.
因为你看到的是生命中主要的这些纠结、主要的挑战，以及主要的这些挑战会发生的阶段和时刻。
When it gets down to your IC, the lowest point in your chart, this is the most ignored point in astrology. Most astrology done from the midheaven for status, for position. It's not really done for where are you coming from? What's your motive?
那么就是说，当行星的土星来到下降点的时候，通常在占星领域里面，大家最关注的都是天顶，就是 MC。那么这个天底和天顶相对应的这一个点，是往往会被忽略的时刻。但是我认为天底也是非常非常重要的时刻。为什么没有人会去关注你从哪儿来的呢？你生命的意义是什么呢？你生命源自哪里呢？这也是非常重要的。
So this is the point where you get motivated.
那么这是那个点，就是在那个点的时候，我们会感觉自己就是获得了这个生命的驱动力。
It doesn't show like you think it was. You don't think, I suddenly want to do this. But what you know is you've been putting up with bad environments, people not talking to you, putting up with things so you can get your studying and get it done. Saturn hits the IC and you know with that ratio, I don't want to put up with this anymore. I can't put up with this anymore. I'm not going to live like this anymore.
那么这个好像并不是像你就是头脑运作的那样，说土星来到下降点，我就马上就可以开始行动做什么事情，或者是真的就说哎呀这个力量就来到了我身上，而是说那个一点你经历了那之前的这几年的时间，你知道了，我再也不想忍受这些东西了，我再也不想和那些人在一起了，我再也不要去和那个老旧的模式在一起了，所以你觉得我都受够了，就是那一个时刻。
I gotta get out of here. I gotta move to I gotta in the next year. I gotta get out of here. I can't put up with this.
我必须要离开那个环境，我必须要离开那个人，我必须要离开那儿了，我再也受不了那种环境了。
So you're trying to change things next year. You'll be changing them with that attitude for the next 15 years.
那么接下来的那一年呢，你就会去想要改变，为生命做出那个改变。那么接下来15年呢，你都是会去不停的为这些情况做改变的时间。
You'll be moving away from what you don't want for the next 15 years.
那么接下来15年呢，你将会去离开那些你真正的最不想要的环境或者人或者事。
As you do that, you start this phase. You've done the personal growth. Now you have to learn how to play.
那么你刚过去的几年中呢，你已经开始学习了个人的成长。那么接下来呢，你需要去学习如何的去玩耍，如何的去嬉戏。
You have your security, your foundation. I don't want this. I got to live this way. Then how are you going to perform? How are you going to play? What are you going to do? Skills that you like, and then find work that you can do that you like using those skills. You're happy.
那么接下来呢，就是你拥有了自己的这个基础，你拥有了自己的安全感以后呢，那么如果你学会了或者把握了自己想要的技能，你能够去表演或者是说向别人去展示这些技能的话，你去做这些喜欢的工作的话，那你将会非常的开心。
So we have to learn how to play, turn our play into work, make it useful to other people, and we have these skills. Other people will want us, and we can do things for them.
那么，当我们去找一份我们感兴趣的东西，然后把这份感兴趣的这个爱好呢变成我们的工作，然后呢，我们有了这一项技能，然后去用这个工作为别人服务的话，那么我们将会被别人了解和认知。那么，越来越多的人就会想要我们去，想要去我们帮助他，用这份技能帮助他。
When we have skills that we like, and we're doing them, we start liking ourselves a bit more. We start feeling better about ourselves.
那么，当我们有自己喜欢的技能，当我们能够用这项技能去为别人服务、为别人工作的时候呢，我们就会开始一点一点的更加喜欢自己，更加的去对自己的生活有自信，更加的觉得自己的生活会有一些愉快。
So then you get comfortable with this. I can do this. I'm doing it. Then other people start to see what you can do and start recognizing you. Saturn is at the descendant.
那么，当你越来越开心的时候呢，那么你为别人服务的时候，那么当行星的土星来到下降点的时候呢，别人也会因为你的这个技能、你的这一个工作，开始去认可你，开始去了解你，你会受到一些关注，因为土星来到了这个第一次来到了下降点。
From this point, when people want what you're doing, you start reacting to other people. Have to perform more. I have to do more. You need this. I'll do this. You start getting more involved with other people.
那么到这一点的时候呢，当别人了解你的技能，当别人喜欢你的时候呢，那你们就会增加更多的互动，就是回馈，你会回馈更多的东西给别人，然后呢，你会去跟别人有更多的参与更多的事情，你会获得更多的这个关注和认可。
You're motivated. You got skill. You're skillful, and you don't want to go back to before you had your skills.
那么这个时候呢，你拥有了驱动力，然后呢，你也拥有这个自己的技能、自己的一技之长，然后你也不会再回到那个之前一无所长的那个状态了。
So you're ready to relate.
所以你已经准备好去和别人建立关联了。
This is growth. This is the phase of growth and functioning. How to do things with other people. How to function. How to work as a team. How to make things happen.
那么这是一个，就是说建立社会功能的，以及和别人发生关系的这个，就是说象限，也就是说我们如何把自己的技能培养出来，然后如何去帮助别人，如何和别人发生关系，然后如何就是更加去优化自己的技能。
So if at a stage you choose the wrong relationship, you won't get as much accomplished, and you end up really depressed in the 12th house because you had a wrong relationship.
那么，如果在这个期间呢，你选择了一个错误的关系的话呢，你会非常的痛苦，因为在那个sorry, this
In the 12th house, you realize I had chosen the wrong relationship. I didn't accomplish much. I got to start over again.
因为如果你选择了一个错误的亲密关系的话呢，或者婚姻的话呢，到12宫土星行星到12宫的话，你会意识到，哎呀，原来是因为我选择了错误的关系、错误的人，然后我浪费了我的时间，我没有去做我该做的事情，我没有去取得我该取得的成就，你会非常的沮丧和抑郁。
One of the things about the growth and functioning, there's more and more time demands made on you.
那么一个这个象限的一个方面呢，就是说关于成长和这个就是你的这些社会的功能。那么它的这个一个面向就是你会需要就是要求付出更多的时间去做这些事情。
So you built up your peak, and you're building up to your peak and status.
就是在这个过程中呢，你去慢慢的去爬向你这个最高成就的这个山峰。
You have to put your time in. I'm helping here. I'm being part of this community. I'm being involved here. You have to put extra time in. Out of yourself. I got to see this person. I got to do this. I got to do that. You got to prove you're reliable, you're consistent, and that builds you respect.
那么你需要花更多的时间，比如说你要去让更多人去了解你，然后你要去花更多的时间在这个社会上，然后呢去向别人去证明你是可靠的，向别人去证明你的技巧、技能是非常就是完善的。
So this builds up to your next peak of status.
那么这个就会给你驱动你走向就是你接下来的这个生命中的高峰的时期。
Here I grew up on a rice paddy, and here I am in Shanghai doing business. Wow, look where I was, look where I got to.
那么我在一个就是农村的这个麦田中长大，然后现在大家看到我来到了上海，我给大家开始讲座，看我从什么样的地方来，我现在又成长为什么样子了。
Who would have imagined that it took a lot of work?
那么我小时候是不可能想象会有今天的。那么在这个过程中呢，我也付出了非常多的努力。
So sometimes we don't want to do this, and we give it to a partner. You take care of me. I want to do this.
那么有的时候呢，我们不想去努力，或者说我们不想去做这些苦力啊。然后呢，我们会说，哎呀，我就把我的生命交给我的另一半吧，然后我就不去努力了。
Then we're living in their status.
那么这样的话呢，我们就是会活在他们的这个社会的光环下面。
It's never good enough for us. By the time we get to the midheaven, this is the peak. I want more.
那么，但是这也是不能忍耐的，因为当你行进的土星来到你的天顶的时候，你会想，我要更多，我要获取更多。
But if you haven't worked for it, you don't deserve it.
但是如果你没有去努力的话，没有付出工作的话，你不值得拥有你该拥有的东西。
You stop complaining. You stop reinforcing the partner as much, whatever. He starts going downhill, and by the time it hits here, you're on your own.
那么如果那个时候的话呢，发生那样的情况的话，你可能会去抱怨，可能会去跟伴侣有一些斗争。那么这个时候，当你的伴侣的行星的土星来到它上升点的话，也可能你们的婚姻就解体了。
So I just made a little story up. They could almost apply to anybody.
那么我刚刚讲的就是好像有一些小故事、小情节，但这个故事和情节似乎是可以去复制到每个人生命中的，就是都有一些类似性。
When you're building up to your peak, you're just thinking about your peak. But it's useful to think, well, after the peak, when do I retire?
那么当你来到生命的顶峰的时候，对你来说，当你知道说生命顶峰还有这样的一个接下来的一个过程的话，你会想说，那我接下来退休以后，你需要去思索的是，我退休以后该干什么呢？
In Scotland, you read in the paper, they had this big vote whether they're going to be independent or not. For 3 years, all the politicians were fighting to try and say, if we want our own country, we're going to stay part of England.
那么就是苏格兰现在有一个投票嘛，就是说他们的政府和政治家都是花3年去说，哎，我们是否让这个苏格兰独立还是不独立？
The Nationalist Party lost. That was in power. Lost this, and the majority said we want to stay part of Great Britain.
那么这个
So the leader said, I resign.
那么所以这个他们的领导人可能说我辞职吧。
We didn't win.
我们没有赢，然后我辞职吧。
He was smart. He could see it's the end.
他很聪明，因为他是结束了。
If he tried to hold on to power, it would get less and less pleasant. It was his time to let go.
那么他非常明智啊，如果说他还是去抓住这个权力不放的话，那么就像那个土星的那个阶段的话，那些权力应该是慢慢会消融的。
How many of us have that same wit?
那么我们哪一个人有同样的聪明和机智去理解我们的生命呢？
So where you are in this, anywhere you come to someone's chart, they're somewhere here. They're moving either towards the identity crisis or from it, towards a motivation crisis or from it, towards a relationship crisis or from it.
那么我们每一个就是说，见到的个案的话呢，每一个人都可以看到说，哎，他是马上要经历这个个人的这个危机呢，还是说已经刚刚从这个危机上走出来？那么我们可以清晰的看到土星在这个哪一个宫位，可以通过这个来理解。
Okay, so this is the main part. Saturn, these 3 things, Saturn, should this help you decide 75% of how you're going to advise somebody if they're coming to see you for a consultation.
那么我认为说，刚刚讲到的，我们之前讲到的这个土星的3点，土星和行运土星和本命土星，行运土星和本命太阳的关系，加上行运土星它在的这个阶段，就是现在讲的这个东西，加起来的话呢，就可以决定70%左右的，就是你咨询的内容了。
If you can see where someone is, wow, this is their challenges. Then you can see, now Jupiter is going to be a whole cycle, 12 years of Jupiter. There'll be one whole cycle above the horizon and a little bit more. There'll be a whole cycle of Jupiter below the horizon. So there'll be one understanding cycle that's personal understanding, one understanding that's career or social understanding.
那么就是说，这个的话呢，就是通过这个周期的话，我们就可以知道说，每一个个案来的时候，他生命处于什么样的位置，处于什么样的挑战，然后我们再可以加上其他的行运的信息。那就比如说像木星，那么我们知道木星呢是代表我们的理解，那么木星的周期是12年，那我们可以看到木星在星盘上什么位置呢？就可以看到说，哎，这是他个人的理解呢，如果在地平线之下是个人的理解呢，还是增加他对社会性的理解，就是地平线之上。
So we're at a point where you could do, and at some point you will do the Saturn cycle to Mercury, do the Saturn cycle to Venus, do the Saturn cycle to Mars, do the Saturn cycle to Jupiter, just to see what happens across your life.
那么当我们确实也需要说，如果想要去检视自己的人生的话，我们可以看土星的周期，然后再加进木星的周期、金星的周期、水星的周期，一起去理解生命中发生的一些事件。
But seeing Saturn to the Sun, Saturn across the angles, and Saturn to itself, you have enough to see where your purpose is and what you're supposed to be doing in life.
那么，但是我认为说看土星和本命土星的关系，土星和太阳的关系，土星和四轴的关系，那么这些加在一起呢，足够让我们了解我们生命的意义、我们生命的目的，以及我们目前在离这个目标有多远，我们目前处于生命的周期的位置是什么地方。
So if you make the graphs for Jupiter, and you do Jupiter to itself, Jupiter to the Sun, and Jupiter to the angles, and you put your events listed down on it, then when you look at that, you'll start to see, oh, look, it's connecting with Saturn like this.
那么当我们再去就是说通过同样的练习去把木星和本命木星、木星和太阳，然后木星和四轴的这些时间点再写下来的话呢，我们就会发现说，木星的这个周期和土星的这个影响有些什么样的关联呢？
You won't directly see, oh, Jupiter means this. You just get a sense of it.
你不会说木星就是代表这个，木星就是代表那个，而是说，你感受到木星的能量是在你生命中是如何发展出来的。
Then you can see if your energy is working with Saturn, listening to Jupiter, working with Saturn, and if Saturn's going below the horizon and you're putting your energy out to career, 60% of your energy is supposed to be going to you. You're going against the current.
那么就好像说，你可以去通过这个来看你是否能量是和这个就是说和谐的。就比如说，如果你的土星行运的土星是在地平线之下的，但是你却把这个大多数的精力都放在外在的事业追求上，那么你60%的精力可能都已经放错地方了，你可能没有去投资自己，或者是去成长，去放在个人成长上面。
Mars is your desire for experience. It's what you want to do. You want to prove that you're going to do it. It can get you in a lot of trouble.
那么火星呢，就是你渴望去做一些事情的驱动力。那么它就是你如何把你的精力去使出来。但是火星呢，也会让你陷入一些麻烦。
So Jupiter can get you in more trouble than Saturn.
那么我认为木星呢，可以给你带来，就是说相对于土星来说，会给你带来更多的麻烦，可能会给你带来更多的麻烦。
Oh, I got Jupiter in the second house or the 8th house. Like you get some money, so you'll borrow some money. You get a whole lot of money, but you owe it. You borrow a whole lot of money. You got the money, Jupiter. Now it's going to take you 30 years to pay it off.
那么就是说，可能比如说举个例子来说，木星来到你的2宫和8宫，那个时候你会想说，哎呀，天哪，我财运非常好。于是你去借了很多钱，你确实获得了很多钱，但可能你会花接下来的几十年的时间需要偿还这个债务。
Is there more understanding or misunderstanding in the world?
那么这就是说，你在这个世界上，你是有正确的认知，还是有错误的认知？你的价值体系是否正确？你的理念是否正确？
So if you're the astrologer, you're trying to say, here's the priorities of Saturn, here's the responsibility, here's the priorities. If someone's understanding is wrong, the work is to try and help the understanding to get a little, here's the correct priorities.
那么，我认为。土星的话呢，就是说是，对理解行运最主要的、最首先要考虑、优先要考虑的能量。
So if a wise Jupiter guides Mars, it keeps you out of trouble.
那么，如果说一个明智的、一个智慧的木星，它能够指引一个火星的正常的运作的话呢，那么你就会避免陷入很多麻烦。
But if you're just being aggressive, like you get young kids, teenagers, they're going to a party, they're being aggressive, they're dancing, they're having a party, they're drinking, and if a policeman or someone shows up, oh, it's terrible. How's it going to stop? We're going to have fun anyway. It gets aggressive, it gets loud, it gets trouble.
那么如果就像那些年轻人，就是青少年的年轻人，他们在那个派对上，就是说寻欢作乐、饮酒，他们非常的有这种冲动的，或者是非常的这个不耐烦。那如果警察来管他们的话，他们也会做一些蠢事。
I want to do more. We want to have a party. Let's do this. Let's do this. Wait a second. It might be hurting people. Maybe it's not the right time. When you're young, who listens?
那么就好像说，我想要快活，我想要寻欢作乐，你不要管我。那么，但是你的这种就寻欢作乐，也可能会潜在的伤害别人。所以，在年轻的时候，有谁能够真正的去完全的控制自己的行为呢？
So it takes a lot of time to capture how Mars is going to work for someone.
那么，所以呢，就是说，去理解火星是如何运作的，去影响这个人的生命的话，确实要花很多的时间。
Depends on their understanding.
那么他就是说火星如何运作的话，是基于这个人他理念是如何的，
And their duty or responsibility.
以及他们的这个责任感和他们的这个价值观和责任感。
You won't win everybody. You can set, here's what you should be doing. Not everybody will listen.
你可以跟他说你需要做什么，这是你现在需要做的事情，但是不是所有的人都会听从你的建议的。
If you're 35 and you want to have a kid, you see the astrologer and says, oh, you better to wait 4 or 5 years.
那么想象一下，如果你是35岁然后呢，你去看一个占星师，然后占星师给你的建议是说，你想要结婚生子，然后占星师给你的建议是说，我建议你最好再等个4、5年。
In your mind, that means I'll never have a kid.
那么你可能会想说，哎呀，那个时候我可能永远不会有个小孩了。
So you may not listen.
那么这个时候你可能不会听我真正想表达的是什么。
Life will go on. You can have your kid, but it's going to take a lot more work than you thought.
那么你可以生小孩，可以结婚，但是对你来说，你要付出更多的努力去投资自己。
I met a woman. She was 49 and pregnant.
那么我遇到一个女性个案的话，她是49岁，然后她怀孕了。
She was the most beautiful pregnant woman I ever saw.
那么她是我所见过的最美丽的这个孕妇。
She was happy. She was smiling. She wanted her baby. And I said, "Aren't you worried?" She says, "Oh no, I get my sound scan. I see the doctor once a month. If something's wrong, we'll take care of it." But she was happy. She wanted the baby.
那么她非常的开心，她也非常的幸福，她也很想要生这个小孩。然后问她说：“你会担心吗？”她说：“不，我的孩子非常健康，我每星期都会去看医生，我非常的开心。”
3 years later, she had the baby. Was growing up. She's happy, but she looks 10 years older.
但是3年以后呢，她也很开心，她生了这个小孩，但是她看上去好像老了10岁。
But she didn't listen to everyone else. Oh, it's too late. You can't have a baby. You can't have it. And she had the baby.
她不听从其他人的这个建议，人家就说你年纪太大了不能有小孩，她还是生了小孩。
We make choices. We can go with this or against this. The more you're in tune with the way it goes, the more completely fulfill your life.
那么我们都是可以去做自己的生命的下很多决定或者选择的，但是我们的选择如果更顺应我们的生命周期，顺应我们的能量的话，我们的生命的潜能将会发展最多的潜能。
Okay, so that's the main puzzle. That's the main puzzle.
这就是生命中最大的一个谜题了。
It's simple. You don't have to look at 1,000 aspects and this planet, this house. Where are you? You're looking at the timing as a separate thing.
那么这非常简单，我们就把这个占星中的生命的这个周期和时间的概念，单独拿出来去理解，它也是非常有效、非常重要的。我们不需要去研究1000多个相位，通过行运中的1000多个相位去寻找那些线索了。
You stop looking at all the things. You're looking at the main simple factors.
我们停止去那个拥有非常海量信息的这个星盘中去寻找答案，我们只是去重要的、核心的那些去抓取我们想要的信息。
4 aspects, 4 crisis points, 4 angles, 4 phases. Out of so many, we've narrowed it down to look at a few things, but they make sense.
那么我们去缩小我们需要去观察的这个视角，我们不需要去在整个星盘的海洋中去这个苦苦的去追求一些线索，我们只要去通过4个主要的相位、4个象限，以及周期的概念去理解。
So that Saturn's duty, responsibility, where you're supposed to work, where you're putting your effort in, what you're supposed to be working. You're depressed about it, you have to work about it. It's
那么土星呢，就是那些你的责任、你的职责，你需要花时间，你需要去努力工作。然后呢，在土星的时期，你可能会觉得抑郁，但是这个时刻呢，是你需要去花时间工作的时刻，因为土星就在跟你说要去努力吧，要去工作吧。
the outer planets are disturbances to Saturn.
那么那些外行星呢，是对土星的一些扰乱。
They disrupt it. You can go get it, but it'll take away from Saturn, and then after a while you have to go back and fix Saturn again.
那么它们就是那些扰乱你秩序、扰乱你土星的能量。那么当外行星影响这个你生命的时候，你可能还是需要去通过土星去重新构建这个秩序。
The conjunctions from the outer planets, they push you to extremes.
那么外行星的这个合相呢，他们把你这些力量把你推向了生命中的一些极致的事件。
You almost can't say no.
你好像无法去拒绝，无法去说不。
But if you see that this conjunction from Uranus or Neptune Pluto is coming, and prepare yourself for 4 or 5 years.
但是如果你能够从星盘中看到说，接下来那些外行星天海冥，它将要去合向我的这个个人行星了。那么在这个之前4、5年之前，如果你去做一些准备工作的话，
Then you're disciplined, then you're controlled, then you're prepared, then you can climb Mount Everest, then you can be in the Olympics, then you can do anything you want.
那么那个时候的话，你就是有秩序，然后你有节制力，你有这个准备，做好准备。那么这个时候你就可以去攀登珠穆朗玛峰。那个攀登珠穆朗玛峰将不是一个梦想。
Most people want to do these things without preparation.
那么大多数人都想要去成就伟大的东西，而不去做任何准备。
And you can ruin everything you got.
那么这个时候呢，这样做的话呢，你会去摧毁你所有的东西。
So simply, Uranus is excitement.
那么非常简单的话，天王星呢是自己亢奋。
It's not exciting if you stay at the job.
那么如果你留在自己的这个工作中，将你一 点也没有刺激感，这样一点也不会让你觉得兴奋。
It's not exciting if you're doing it with your husband.
那么如果你跟你的这个丈夫整天在一起的话，也一点不让你觉得兴奋。
I want to do something myself, something different.
我要自己做一些让我觉得不一样的，让我觉得刺激的东西。
It doesn't mean you have to leave the responsibilities behind.
那么，但这并不代表说你需要去离开你的这份责任或者职责。
If you do, it breaks ties, it breaks respect, and you can't put the pieces back together.
那么，如果你这么做的话呢，你将要去失去那个尊重，或者失去之前的过去的连结。
So, when Uranus comes conjuncting something, you're looking for excitement. You got to make it different. You got to make it different. You should be preparing for how can I do that.
那么，当天王星合相你本命行星的时候呢，你会内在会趋利，会想说我要兴奋，我要让生活注入新的东西，我要过不一样的生活。但是在这之前，你必须要做好准备。
One day I'll go to Hawaii. One day I'll go here. I'll go there. And you're saving up, and then you go do it.
那么好像你会说，哎呀，我要去就是夏威夷，我要去这里，我要去那里，我总有一天会去那里的。但是在去那个地方，去那个美妙的地方之前，你必须要存好足够的钱。
The trouble when you rent a car, you go and rent this brand new car, then you got to go home and drive your own after.
那么你可以想象说，如果你租了一辆非常就是跑车或者名贵的车，那你回家之后还要开你这辆破车的话，自己什么感受呢？
So Uranus, when Uranus squares or opposes, it causes big shocks and big changes.
那么当天王星呢，就是四分本命的行星和对分本命的行星的时候呢，它会给你人生带来非常大的震惊的事件和这个扰乱。
So if you're too crystallized and you're too structured or you're too serious, Uranus will break it.
如果你太严肃或者太就是有秩序或者太就是秩序化的话呢，那么天王星呢就会把这个秩序或者过去生活的这个打乱。
If you lose a job, lose the mortgage, break your heart, things can change suddenly.
那么你生命中会发生一些突然的变化，你可能是会失去一份工作，你可能会就是你的感情可能会让你心碎，你可能会生命中发生一些翻天覆地的变化。
I'm not going to go long term into these other planets. I just want this sudden shock or excitement of Uranus is a threat to your stability, although sometimes we need it.
那么我不会去详细的再去讲那些外行星，但是就举个例子来说，天王星的这些亢奋、这些刺激的能量，它好像扰乱了你平静的生活，但是有的时候这是生命中必须要经历的这一些扰乱。
If you work hard all week, I want to do something on the weekend. I got to be different.
那么就好像说你工作了辛苦工作了1个星期，然后你会说我已经这么辛苦了，我就想放一个假，我周末想玩一下。
Neptune is the planet of romance and adventure.
那么海王星呢是代表了这个浪漫和这个探险的这颗行星。
What causes more confusion and sorrow than romance?
那么有什么东西是比浪漫罗曼史带来更多的这个失望和伤心呢？
You're the most beautiful person in the world. I love you. You're wonderful. How could you leave me, bitch? How could you deal with this?
你是世界上最美的人，你是我能够获得最美的这个对象，为什么你能离开我呢？你为什么要离开我呢？
So if someone's coming to you saying, "You're wonderful. You'll do everything. You'll save me." Run.
如果有人来到你的生命中，他对你说：“哎呀，你太完美了，你就是我的女神，你就是我的男神，你来拯救我的生命吧。”这个时候你需要做的就是赶快逃离他们。
There's going to be conditions.
因为这个必须会带来一些这个条件，潜在的条件。
I married my ultimate dream. Now, where are you going? What are you doing? What's happening? We're here. We got to hold together, and it becomes a smothering thing.
那么我遇到了我这个梦中情人，或者是说我最想要的另一半。那么这样的关系的话，它可能会像绑架你一样。
Life would be terrible if we didn't have great dreams.
如果生命中没有那些伟大的梦想的话，生命将变得非常的糟糕。
But great dreams can ruin many marriages, many homes, many careers. Or they have social conscience. Neptune can work very well. You're helping someone. You're doing something kind.
那么，如果一个人拥有慈悲善良的心，如果他们拥有社会意识的话，他们在帮助别人的话，那么海王星的行运或许会比较容易度过，因为他们有一颗善良的心。
But are you gambling? Are you drinking? You're taking happy hour every day after work, and you're coming home drunk. No good's gonna come out of it.
但是如果你 每一天都会在下班时间去饮酒作乐，或者是说去酗酒的话，那么你的生活将不会带来任何的好处。
Even if you're with someone, you meet, oh, this is a beautiful person, I love you, this is wonderful. You forget to ask if they're married. They might be married and you don't know.
那么就好像说你遇到了生命中的那一个好像的灵魂伴侣，或者说你那么喜欢对方，那么如果你问他说你结婚了吗？很可能他已经结婚了，或者是说他结婚了，他也没有告诉你。
Or they might start drinking.
或者他们也可能说开始跟你在一起以后开始酗酒了。
I mean, it's the ones who drink and or spacey. They look most romantic, not the business guys. They look most romantic.
那些就是好像有艺术气质的那些喝酒的人，看上去是最让人觉得充满那个幻想、充满艺术气质的人。
But Neptune causes deception, confusion, expectations, dependencies, sorrows, guilt, self-pity.
那么海王星呢，也会带来那种欺骗、幻觉、幻灭，然后呢那种就是期待、那种失望、那种伤心、那种互相寄生的关系。
The solution to that: simplicity, sincerity, humility, unpretentiousness, self-reliance.
那么对海王星的解药呢，就是在海王星的时刻，我建议大家真诚，然后呢降低自己的期待，过简单的生活，然后呢就是拥有一颗善良的心，有社会意识的心。
So we all have our moments when we've taken the temptation, gone for the dream.
那么我们生命中都有那一些时刻，好像就是受到诱惑，想要去追寻我们美妙的梦想。
In one way or another, we spend a lot of time getting back to Saturn and put things back in order.
但是我们还是需要说不停地去回到土星，去建立一些秩序，去做一些努力的工作。
You meet a beautiful guy, he's rich, he's got everything. You move anything, I'll never have to work. He loses his job, and you're paying the rent.
那么就好像说，海王星的时刻，你遇到了那一个非常有钱的人，非常美丽也非常帅的有钱的人，你跟他在一起，好像你就不用打工了，不用做任何工作了。然后接下来你跟他在一起以后，他就失业了，或者他的公司失败了，你就必须开始工作去赚钱养家了。
So 6 months goes by, you're still paying the rent.
那么6个月过去了，你还是要赚钱养家。
He hasn't found a job yet. He's not looking.
然后他还没有找到工作，然而他也不想再找工作，他也没有开始找工作这个事儿。
How long will you pay the rent?
那么你会持续再去养家养多久呢？
At some point, you're going to blow.
在某一个时间点，你将会爆发。
You're going to want to use some money for yourself, not always have it going nowhere, and you're going to have that discussion.
你将会想要去拥有自己的这个钱，或者是说你不想让这个钱就像跌进无底洞一样。那么在某一个这个时间点呢，你会想要去跟对方去讨论这个事情。
So you can't see that Uranus or change is good or bad right away. It's threatening, but you can be alert to it.
那么像那个天王星的时刻呢，生命中会发生变化，但是你不知道，就是你不会马上就看到说这个变化是好的还是坏的，只是你会感觉生命中似乎经历了一些就是震荡的时刻，地动山摇的一些时刻。
So Neptune, the same way. We get confused, we get lost. You can't tell if someone's doing good or bad. You believe in them.
那么海王星也是这样的，我们好像就是困惑了，我们迷失了，我们不知道这个人对我们是好的还是坏的，我们也看不清对象。
What if they don't deserve the belief?
我们只能去相信他或者信任他，但是如果那个人他就是说不值得我们信任，该怎么办呢？
So Uranus is a test of your independence.
那么天王星呢是对你独立性的一个测试，
Neptune is a test of faith.
那么海王星呢是对你人生信念的一个测试。
Faith and self-reliance.
那么对自己能够依赖自己的这个信念的这个测试。
Pluto is what I call the auditor general of the solar system.
那么我把这个冥王星呢叫做这个太阳系的这个审计员、审计官。
It's truth and consequences.
那么它好像就是说，要么你就是真实的，要么就是会有带来一些不好的后果。
If you tell someone you love them when you don't,
那么如果你告诉某些人，就是说你跟别人说我爱你，但是你其实真实的是不爱他的话，
a few years later Pluto comes around, the guy kills himself or something happens, what's happened?
那么或者几年以后，这个冥王星行运来了，那么那个人他自杀了，那么你生命中到底发生的是什么？什么是真相呢？
If you have a kid that's starting to get in trouble, and you don't fight them,
如果你有了小孩，那个小孩就是说遇上了一些麻烦，但是你并没有为你的小孩站的话，
you deserve what you get.
那么你就是你获得什么是你自己应得的。
So now Pluto is a test of truth.
那么，冥王星呢是这个对于真相的一个测试。
Truth goes right to spiritual things. Is it spiritual or is it not? How come people have their karma? Why is this happening? This is the worst thing that's happening to me. How could this possibly happen?
的话，
You want to explain to everybody, I'm sorry I lost the boot, this is why I was all doing that. Nobody wants to know.
如果你想向别人解释的，你想向别人解释我是因为这个原因那个原因而慢了一拍，其实其他的人根本不想听你的解释。
They have enough trouble holding the beat together themselves.
他们自己也就是需要花非常多的精力去赶上那个节拍。
If they have to think of your negative energy, it's going to make them lose the beat.
如果你要别人去思考或者去同样的去感受你的负能量的话，别人也会慢拍的。
Sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to take a stand. If you got 2 kids and 1 kid's in trouble, sometimes you have to lock the door so the older one doesn't affect the younger one.
那么有的时候你就需要去抗争，有的时候你就需要去做一些事情。就比如说2个小孩，一个大的小孩就是他遇到了一些麻烦，那么你就需要把那个大孩子关起来，不要让他去影响那个小孩子。
Sometimes bad things can still happen.
有的时候还是会发生一些不怎么好的事情。
There was a story of a lady in Toronto, well, in Ontario. Her daughter was staying out late at night. She started drinking and doing things. She was staying out after midnight. Her 15 years old. Okay, so she's staying out, not listening to her mother and staying out.
那么就是有一个故事，在蒙特利尔有一个女士，那么她的那个女儿10几岁了，她这个女士让她女儿早点回家，但是她女儿很晚还是没有回家。
So finally the mother says, if you're not home by midnight, I'm locking the door.
那么最后那个母亲就对女孩说，如果你还是在午夜之前不回来的话，我就会锁门。
She didn't come home at midnight.
那么这个女孩在午夜后没有回家，
The door was locked.
那么就是门被锁起来了。
She walked out on the street. She got picked up by a rapist, got raped and murdered.
哦，那么这个女孩没有进家门，所以她被一个谋杀谋杀案犯给绑架了。
If you're the mother, how could this happen? What did I do? Why did I do this? How could I possibly do this?
如果你是那个母亲的话，你想象一下，天哪，我怎么会做这个事情？我怎么能做这件事情呢？
But she was trying to save the younger daughter.
但是她这样做是为了去拯救或者去让她那个小女儿不受影响。
And the story keeps going. But everybody has their karma in this. There's something that was going on a lot of levels. It's playing out.
那么每个人都有他们自己的故事，那么这些故事的这个发生也是有很多可能性的。每一个人都在生命中有他们自己的业力，这些业力交织在一起，我们很难去解释什么。
Living is a life and death process.
那么我们每个人的生存下来就是一个生死的这个过程。
It's a miracle we survive a day.
我们能够就是活下来一天也是非常了不起的。
It's a greater miracle we survive our mothers.
那么我们能够从我们母亲、我们家庭中这个存活下来，也是一个非常大的奇迹。
Or germs, or whatever. Our school teachers.
我们从细菌或者从这个我们的学校或者我们的老师那儿存活下来，也是一个奇迹。
The bullies at school.
那些在学校中欺压人的那些大孩子，那边我们存活下来也是奇迹。
Everybody has times when life goes really dark.
那么我们每一个人生活中都有一段时期，那些时期可能都是非常黑暗的。
And you have to fight. Sometimes it blows up. Sometimes you fight. Sometimes you win. You don't know. But even so, you have that big battle. Even after a big battle and you win it, you still have to get back to simplicity, get back to your Saturn, get back to normal, and get on track on this path again.
那么就是有的时候我们生命中需要有一些大的战争或者是斗争，有的时候我们需要为自己而战。那么即使我们在经历一个非常大的战争以后呢，或者即使我们获得胜利以后呢，我们还是要回到土星，还是要回到那个最主要的周期中去。
If you're not living beautifully, responsibly, honestly,
如果我们没有这个诚实的、有秩序的、严谨的，或者是说负责任的生活的话，
the outer planets will ruin your life.
那么那些外行星的行运将会摧毁我们的生命。
Even if you are, they could ruin it, but you could be prepared to make the most of it.
那么，如果那些外行星的行运很挑战，那么它会影响我们的生活的话，但是如果我们准备好，我们在之前已经做了充分的准备的话，我们也能够更好的去应对。
Sometimes you let your kids make their own mistakes.
有的时候你必须要让你的小孩去犯他们自己的错误。
get their own Jupiter, get their own understanding.
那么这个会让他们去建立他们自己的理念，也就是去给他们带来一个健康的木星。
come to their own responsibilities.
然后这些理念呢，会影响他们建立自己正确的这个责任和职责感，就是土星。
So you see, as a mother to a kid, if you're a grandparent, you're going taking care of your grandkids. This is so wonderful. Then you think, I know what my grandkid needs. I know everything they need. I know better than my kids.
那么就是这，如果说你是一个这个祖父祖母的话，如果你带这个孙子的话，你可能会说，哎呀，我比我的这个小孩更懂得如何带小孩。
But your kid is the father or the mother,
但是你的小孩应该是父亲和母亲的角色，
not you as a grandparent.
但并不是你是这个祖父祖母，并不是父母的角色，
So you have to let go.
所以你必须要放手了。
I call it sweet sorrow.
我把它那个叫做一个甜蜜的这个悲伤。
So life throws big things at us. It's the Saturn that holds it together.
那么生命有很多起起伏伏啊，但是我认为是土星把所有的事情串联在一起的。
Okay, what time is it?
3.
Okay, let's take a break.
让我们休息一下。
And we'll come back and I'll show you how I make an